A lost empire said to rival every modern nation in power, wealth, and vision. Yet it vanished in a single day. No warning, no survivors, only whispers. The lost continent of Atlantis has captivated imaginations for centuries. First chronicled by Plato in Timaeus and Critias, still studied today, a must-read that's linked for you below in the description. Atlantis was described as a utopia of immense power, wealth, and wisdom that mysteriously sank beneath the sea. Was it fantasy, a parable, or real history buried beneath silt and centuries? Some dismiss the tale as symbolic, while others claim Plato echoed a forgotten truth, one tied to human ambition, technological excess, and the collapse of moral order. The myth lingers not because of what Atlantis was, but what it says about us, about our rise, and our potential fall. So ask yourself, are we uncovering a legend or recognizing a future we've already set in motion? Atlantis wasn't just a place, it was a symbol, a mirror reflecting the triumphs and failures of human civilization. This isn't about locating stones beneath the waves, it's about decoding the truths buried in our memory. Did it sit off Spain? Beneath the Sahara? Were the Atlanteans human, or something else entirely? Were they spiritually balanced or fatally ambitious? What if Atlantis wasn't destroyed, but transformed? What if the knowledge didn't vanish, but scattered, waiting to be rediscovered? We're not chasing myth. We're tracing a lineage of knowledge, wisdom, and warning. Atlantis pulls at something deeper than archaeology. It forces us to confront who we are and what we're capable of becoming. To truly understand the myth, we return to its source, not a ruin, but a scroll. In Critias and Timaeus, Plato recounts a tale told to Solon by Egyptian priests of a civilization 9,000 years older than his own, far beyond the Pillars of Hercules. Plato claimed it was larger than Libya and Asia combined, a landscape carved by gold-laced temples and canals, where even ancient Athens looked provincial. The Atlanteans were masters of art, governance, and technology, but with great power came corruption. They expanded with iron fists and forgot the divine order that made their greatness possible. The Roman Empire lasted 1,000 years. Atlantis? According to Plato, it was wiped out in a single day and night. Plato wasn't just telling a story. He was embedding a warning. Atlantis was a philosophical mirror, a model of how even the most advanced society can collapse from within. The Atlanteans, once balanced and virtuous, began chasing power. Their cities glittered with wealth, but their morality dimmed. Sound familiar? Replace temples with towers, and Atlantis feels eerily current. Their destruction didn't come from war. It came from forgetting what made them great in the first place. The tale didn't begin with Plato. He got it from his ancestor, Solon, a respected Athenian who traveled to Egypt in 600 BCE. There, priests told him of Atlantis, a powerful empire that once ruled the Mediterranean and beyond. These weren't metaphors to them. They were records. Solon brought the story back, and Plato wove it into his dialogues. The result? A hybrid of spiritual philosophy and geopolitics that would captivate minds for thousands of years. But Solon's account didn't spread through textbooks. It passed through secret brotherhoods, mystic networks sworn to preserve forbidden knowledge. These weren't fringe cults. They were scholars and initiates who believed the truth about Atlantis was too dangerous for the masses. So, they veiled it, hidden in allegory, embedded in ritual. Imagine if your civilization's survival depended on not revealing what you knew. That's the kind of knowledge the legend of Atlantis was wrapped in. Then came the Library of Alexandria, a beacon for lost truths. Established in the 3rd century BCE, it drew in records from every known culture: Egyptian scrolls, Greek treatises. Some believed to hold clues to Atlantis itself. Scholars there tried connecting ancient dots, but the library was destroyed before the puzzle could be solved. What if its fire didn't just erase knowledge, but erased proof? The answers may have burned with the scrolls. Through Solon, secret brotherhoods, and Alexandria's ashes, Plato constructed something enduring. Not a myth, but a philosophical time bomb. Atlantis became the ultimate what if, a civilization that shouldn't have failed, but did. And that single detail keeps us returning to it, again and again. The fall of Atlantis wasn't just loss. It was loss that felt inevitable, as if the collapse wasn't just historical, but destined. And in that feeling lies its power. Plato described Atlantis as vast, resource-rich, and volcanically active. Some believe that's not allegory, but geology. The Mediterranean is one of the most unstable regions on Earth. Volcanic islands like Santorini have reshaped history with single eruptions. In 1883, Krakatoa exploded with such force it changed global weather. Imagine that kind of destruction, focused on a capital city. Atlantis may not have sunk from myth, but from magma, water, and time. And then there's the land bridge theory. During the Ice Age, lowered sea levels revealed connections between continents. Some believe Atlantis existed on or near one of these bridges, perfectly placed for trade and expansion. But when sea levels rose, everything changed. Those bridges vanished. Cities were swallowed. Isolation began. Maybe the Atlanteans didn't just lose their home. They lost the arteries that connected them to the world. Some researchers go even further, proposing that Atlantis wasn't one island, but many, an archipelago bound by culture and economy. This changes the narrative. A single disaster wouldn't sink one island. It would unravel a whole system. Like dominoes across the sea, one collapse triggers another. A distributed civilization with no backup plan. That makes the story less mythological and more like every real empire we've ever studied. Put all the evidence together: volcanic instability, rising seas, fragmented land. Suddenly, the legend feels like a post-mortem. The Atlantis story isn't impossible, it's probable. But that's what makes it terrifying. Because if it happened before, it can happen again. We build on coastlines too. We stretch our systems too far. Maybe Atlantis wasn't just a warning from the past. Maybe it's a reflection of the future. Plato's account wasn't subtle. Atlantis fell in a single day and night, judged by the gods for its arrogance. One moment, a civilization in bloom. The next, gone. Not eroded, not invaded, just erased. Imagine waking up to temples and towers, and by sundown, it's all memory. That's what makes Atlantis so haunting. The scale of the loss, the speed, and the silence that followed. Modern science backs the possibility. Earthquakes, tsunamis, and undersea volcanoes could erase entire island nations in hours. In the Mediterranean, that's not speculation, it's history. Some believe Atlantis didn't gradually disappear. It was ripped apart. A quake hits. The ocean reacts. Waves crush the shoreline. Cities vanish. And centuries later, We're still diving to find the evidence. You don't need myth to explain Atlantis. You just need geology and timing. But what if the real collapse wasn't natural? Some researchers believe the Atlanteans caused their own end. Overmining, overbuilding, exploiting every resource with no restraint. Plato described them as brilliant, but also proud. A civilization so obsessed with control, they lost control. Combine that with a natural disaster, and you get a civilization built on genius, brought down by greed. Sound familiar? It should, because we've seen it before. We might be seeing it again. When Atlantis fell, it didn't fall alone. Some believe surrounding cultures entered a dark age. Technology and knowledge lost alongside the cities. It's as if a keystone was removed from a great arch and the entire structure crumbled. Atlantis wasn't just a civilization. It was a stabilizer. Take it out, and the world tilted. The myth's warning isn't just about losing greatness. It's about how fragile the whole system really is. Plato described a world of concentric rings, gleaming metal, fertile land, and marvels of engineering. A capital of towers and temples surrounded by canals, designed not for defense, but for elegance. Atlantis was a society that fused geometry and governance. Their technology didn't just serve function, it served form, aesthetic, harmony, and at its peak, it was breathtaking. Imagine a city the size of Manhattan, built with the vision of ancient Greece and the efficiency of a future we haven't reached. But Atlantis wasn't just beautiful, it was enlightened. Esoteric accounts say they used crystals to generate energy, heal disease, and enhance mental clarity. Their tech didn't dominate nature, it cooperated with it. They believed sound, frequency, and intention could reshape reality. Imagine Wi-Fi powered by singing stones. If true, this wasn't just technology, it was sacred architecture. And when they lost that balance, the machines kept working, but the soul of the civilization fractured. The Atlanteans didn't just invent, they aligned. According to esoteric tradition, their technology was guided by ethics. In their golden age, progress served purpose, machines healed, power followed principle. But as ambition overtook harmony, that alignment fractured. The same systems that uplifted them began to destabilize everything. It wasn't just a fall from grace, it was a fall from resonance. Atlantis didn't collapse because of failure. It collapsed because it forgot what it was building for. Esoteric teachings say Atlantis was more than a civilization. It was a phase in human evolution. In theosophy, humanity evolves through root races. Atlantis, they say, was the fourth, a race of beings with psychic awareness, spiritual discipline, and metaphysical mastery. But their fall wasn't random. It was part of the cycle, a necessary collapse to give rise to something new. That shifts the narrative. Atlantis didn't end. It transformed. And if they were the fourth, who are we? Ishmael Perez takes this even further. He claims Atlantis was a hybrid civilization, part human, part extraterrestrial. According to him, ancient visitors seeded the Atlanteans with advanced knowledge and technology, guiding them as spiritual stewards of Earth. Their fall, a cosmic tragedy, the loss of a bridge between dimensions. What if Earth wasn't meant to evolve alone? What if Atlantis was the proof? A galactic experiment cut short, with humanity still scrambling to remember its instructions. Helena Blavatsky, founder of the Theosophical Society, believed Atlantis wasn't just lost history, it was lost science. She claimed the Atlanteans understood cosmic laws and harnessed energy we now call mystical. Their wisdom scattered into Egypt, Vedic India, and Greek mystery schools. To her, Atlantis wasn't fantasy, it was foundation, a spiritual keystone. And its true tragedy wasn't the flood. It was the fact that we ignored what was left behind. Atlantis, in the esoteric view, is a cipher, a puzzle hidden in plain sight, not a tale to be solved, but a map to be followed. Its story isn't about destruction, it's about remembrance. What if Atlantis isn't gone? What if it's asleep in the form of dormant knowledge, intuition, and symbols? Maybe we're not supposed to find the ruins. Maybe we're supposed to rebuild the understanding. Crystal grids, frequency-based communication, sound-powered machines. According to mystics and researchers, Atlantis wasn't running on steam or steel. It was running on resonance. The Atlanteans used crystals to amplify energy and consciousness. Their tech wasn't separate from spirit. It was spirit, encoded in physical form. Picture a civilization where electricity hums with intention, where healing is vibrational, where architecture is alive. It's not just ancient fantasy. It might be a future we haven't earned back yet. Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet, claimed Atlantis had towers that beamed energy and flying vessels powered by magnetic fields. He said this knowledge came not from books, but past life memory. Cayce warned that the same forces rising in our time mirror those that destroyed Atlantis, a civilization of unmatched technology and spiritual potential, undone by arrogance. He didn't predict history, he remembered it. And in that remembrance, he issued a warning. Atlantis was a society that fused spiritual principle with material power. It didn't just innovate, it asked why. Progress was measured in wisdom, not wealth. Ethics weren't add-ons, they were embedded in the blueprints. But when ambition overtook balance, everything cracked. Machines outpaced meaning. Power lost purpose. The fall wasn't technical, it was spiritual. And that's the lesson we keep missing. Atlantis didn't destroy itself because it was wrong. It destroyed itself because it stopped being right. From healing chambers to zero-point energy systems, Atlantis wasn't just ahead of its time. It was outside it. Edgar Cayce said the real power of Atlantis came from the intention behind its tools. When aligned with spiritual law, their machines elevated life. When corrupted, they accelerated collapse. Sound familiar? The question isn't if we can reach Atlantean levels again. The question is, should we? If we haven't learned what they forgot, Atlantis lives in our art, our architecture, our imagination. From Jules Verne's fiction to H.P. Lovecraft's cosmic horror, every generation rewrites the myth. That's how you know it's alive. It's not a ruin, it's a canvas. Painters render utopias, writers chase forgotten tech. Spiritual seekers decode its message. Atlantis isn't buried under the sea, it's buried in symbolism, passed down in every story that whispers, there was once a world that knew more than we do now. The mystery of Atlantis isn't just academic, it's visceral. Documentaries chase it, divers scan the ocean floor, and every sonar ping stirs something ancient in us. We don't search because we're lost, we search because we know something's missing. Atlantis asks not, where is it? But What did we lose? It's more than ruins. It's a reflection, a myth that refuses to die because deep down, we know it wasn't just a place, it was a turning point. Atlantis warns of progress without principle, of intelligence divorced from wisdom. In a time of rising seas, failing systems, and unchecked tech, its relevance only grows. This isn't ancient history, it's a prophecy. Plato didn't write a tragedy, he wrote a mirror. Atlantis didn't fall because it was doomed. It fell because it ignored the signs. So we ask, are we any different? Or are we building our own Atlantis, one decision at a time? We've journeyed through crystal tech, psychic warnings, and philosophical echoes. From Plato's dialogues to theosophical doctrine, one thing is clear. Atlantis wasn't just a civilization, it was a crossroad, a test, and it's not over. This isn't about the past anymore. It's about what we're building today. Greatness is fragile, wisdom is perishable, and without alignment, even the most powerful society can vanish beneath its own weight. In a single night, we explored crystal-powered tech, spiritual science, and a society that once balanced progress with purpose. Atlantis may be gone, but the questions it raised still echo. Can we evolve without losing our soul? Can power exist without collapse? And more importantly, what will our ruins say about us? But this mystery doesn't end here. Dive into the next chapter now. The Antarctic Gateway, William Morris's secret voyage. From ancient crystals to algorithmic art, Atlantis lives on. In literature, sculpture, and spirit, it never really left. Maybe that's the real secret. Atlantis isn't history. It's a cycle, one we repeat, one we can break. Every time we speak its name, we resurrect the warning. Every time we chase it, we uncover more about ourselves. Atlantis isn't where we were. It's what we risk becoming. Atlantis challenges us to remember, to realign, to ask not whether a continent sank, but whether a truth did. What if the myth is the clue? What if the story survives because we need it now more than ever? Maybe Atlantis isn't a warning. Maybe it's a second chance, disguised as a story. And if you're ready for what's next, watch The Antarctic Gateway, William Morris's secret voyage.